Good morning, Burbs. My name is Azalara, and recently I've been hearing a lot of people say, hey, like the PSO2 NA beta is kind of boring and stuff. Like, what's up with that? Let's talk about it. A lot of the arguments I've been seeing people say is more or less the fact that the game is very boring because apparently it's way too easy. That and coupled with the fact that there's basically almost nothing really much to do, and then whenever anyone goes to ask for any guides or advice and stuff, there's none of like all the endgame stuff that JP has. For example, there's no level 85 skills because the cap is at level 75. There's no crafted skills, which do change the gameplay completely. And not even just that, because half the rings isn't even in the game right now. Some of the very, very essential rings, for example, the double saber Kamaitachi ring, is not even in the game. So it really makes it hard for a lot of people to really just prepare themselves for more of the endgame on some classes and stuff. Unironically though, Summoner is like the only class with everything they already need, well except for some crafted techs, but yeah. As a PSO2 veteran myself, I would like to address some of the issues here that you guys have been listing, and perhaps also help you guys break out of that mentality as well if you're finding the game really boring. So first of all, let's actually talk about the state that PSO2 North America's beta is in. All the weapons that you're getting right now, whether it be all the Nox weapons or the 13-star weapons with the Revolutio series and the other things, it's actually something that's been present in the game around somewhere, say episode 3 around the end of it, or around like entry level for episode 4. The fact here being is that PSO2 NA's state of the game right now is actually kind of in episode 1, but then it has an EQ from episode 2, but also has the episode 3 free fields. But well, regardless of that, all the content right now only has enemies up to the SH difficulty or the super hard difficulty. If you've ever watched any of my older like episode 2, episode 3 videos and stuff like that, that is basically me using very endgame like episode 3 weapons. With the balancing then, even with all the endgame weapons, it's not as strong, but in PSO2 NA you actually have the balancing patch of PSO2 JP. You're probably like around 2 patches behind, which is not a big problem, but the big problem is still the fact that balancing in episode 6 of PSO2 is way different than the balancing of PSO2 back then. Mobs in Super Hard should have around a health pool of anywhere between 9,000 to 14,000 health. And then the bosses should have around 200 or 300k. More or less, it really depends. So with the extremely powerful weapons and also the game balancing that wasn't meant to be for this easy of a difficulty, PSO2 NA's beta also kind of messed up the entire drop pool, making really powerful weapons drop really early on, and also many photon arts that are supposed to be rare and naturally acquired way later into the game actually available for people who are level 10 or something like that is actually quite crazy. I was actually talking to a friend of mine and then comparing some of my episode 3 damage, like episode 3 endgame austere weapons damage, to what they're doing now with some random Nox weapons. My friend here being level 53 main and then level 40, maybe 30 something subclass, I'm not sure, but it's actually asinine how much damage they're doing compared to me back then when I was max level, max gear, and max everything. So with that in mind, honestly, it's actually no surprise at all that a lot of people who are playing in the PSO2 North American beta are thinking that the game is really easy and boring. A lot of OG Phantasy Star fans might understand exactly what I'm talking about because you don't really get the feeling of that journey you had before when you're playing the original Phantasy Star series or so on, where you actually had to get good, had to actually learn all the boss patterns really thoroughly, had to actually grind your way and actually be dedicated to get everything that you wanted. But then in PSO2's North American beta, you're probably having an experience where everything kind of just melts and it just feels really weird. So for the people who feel that way, I mean, just know that the game does get significantly harder later, so I'm pretty sure there's still a lot of things that you can enjoy later on. Either that, or you can hope that the PSO2 NA team really does fix things and make things really feel like Phantasy Star again. Although that being said, there is actually a really good counter argument to all of this where NA might actually be just trying to make people really catch up to the Japanese servers really early on. Like for example, maybe they're planning to really just release all the content on release or something like that. We actually don't know at all. Because if that's the case, then I think that it's perfectly fine that they're trying to really just give everyone the gear and all that, but at least for the state of the beta, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, only because people aren't really enjoying or rather experiencing the actual experience of what Phantasy Star Online is like. For example, if we take here Monster Hunter World as a big example, it's like saying, hey, okay, so we have a new player here in Monster Hunter World, but we're gonna give them like Iceborne equipment and then let them go through the game. They probably would absolutely not be able to really enjoy the game because it's kinda obviously gonna be a bit too easy and all that, but well, if anyone who played Phantasy Star Online 2 North America for the first time and never even know anything about Phantasy Star at all, this is what they're gonna think is the norm of the game, and I think that's kind of a problem. I also want to reiterate the fact that I'm not actually like trying to attack anyone who actually does enjoy the game, or like anyone who actually just thinks that it's really good, that they're trying to make us catch up and everything like that, but it's just my thoughts that I think everyone should actually experience the Phantasy Star experience rather than being rushed and everything. So it comes down to, how do you enjoy the PSO2 North American beta? Honestly, don't rush it and just take your time and enjoy everything. Try everything out and really see what you like, what you don't like, and really just take the time to learn the ins and outs of the bosses and all the mechanics of like the stages and the enemies and whatnot. It's definitely not a race to get to max level, because later on in the game there's going to be a lot more easier ways for you to get to max level if you really wanted to rush to begin with. I've seen a lot of people always so hell-bent on being like, hey, I really want to play Hunter, and then they kind of tunnel vision into just not really looking at anything else much because they really just want to play Hunter, and I don't blame anyone for doing that, but do keep in mind that with crafting and all, a lot of the game is going to be pretty different when the time comes to late game. So while it's not wrong to actually just want to, like, say, train one class and just be really good with it and mastered with it, I believe it's still better to just give everything else a try, because you never know if you might find something that you might like, or it might click on you. And even if you do practice really hard with that one class, it's not like there's any content that can really challenge you, so maybe give that one a little bit of thought. And one last thing is, if you think the game is still a little too easy, why not try taking a trip down memory lane? Try giving yourself a challenge and go into the SH bosses with only the red weapons. Because as far as I remember, that's what I've been doing like 6 years ago. So yeah, that's about it. And of course, there's definitely more things that I can still address, and that PSO2 NA is still in the beta phase and whatnot. Everything can still always be fixed and things can always get better. But regardless, I just really wanted to make this video because I thought this was a pretty important topic, and I wanted to let everyone know how it is and just see it in a different perspective, perhaps. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Let's have a discussion in the comment section below, or perhaps on my Discord server. Anyways though, I hope you all are doing well, and hopefully you're enjoying the PSO2 North American beta. I've been streaming quite a lot and feeling really good lately, so take care, alright? And don't forget to smile, and I'll see you sometime soon. Maybe on live streams.